Hello there, I'm Eric Kane,
I'm Paul Tassi.
and we're back with the Two Player Podcast to talk about two shows, The Walking Dead and Stranger Things. Stranger Things Season 2, which just came out and everybody binged it all at once, and then The Walking Dead, which has been trickling out like, God, I don't know. What's an adjective for this season of The Walking Dead?
Painstakingly slowly, but somehow still full of action.
Yeah, what's going on? It's so weird.
Yeah, it is strange.
It's so weird to have almost an entire 42 minutes of action where it almost feels like nothing's happening and it's just impossible to follow.
Yeah, so if we're starting with The Walking Dead, I try to describe it in one word, which is just kind of incoherent.
Yeah.
I wasn't horribly offended by this episode, didn't think it was the worst thing ever, but I didn't really understand what they were trying to do. And after the fact, I kind of thought about it and read some stuff, and I guess the point was that Savior HQ is under assault by the walkers and still picking themselves up, then the goal was to kind of go to all these other outposts and take as much as they possibly can, because they know that no backup is coming or can come. So that actually made it make a little more sense to me, but that wasn't really kind of relayed in the episode, nor did you know where they were and what exactly they were trying to do in all these places for the most part. So that was kind of confusing.
Yeah, I just don't get why they don't have any sort of exposition explaining what's going on. Just a little scene standing around a table planning out, all right, your team's going to hit this one and then we'll hit this one while they're trapped. Just 2 minutes of basic explanation would go so far.
Well, we did get face close-ups, so that's
we did get
useful.
Face close-ups. That's true. Actually, for this podcast, it is just an audio podcast, but I was thinking we should do some really soft focus close-up,
just cut between
face.
Me and you,
just back and forth with some dramatic music in the background.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. That I honestly, I can't understand. I just can't understand what they're doing with this show right now.
They try to be exciting, but
not exciting.
Yeah.
The problem also with not really knowing what, you had to go read up on what was going on for you to figure it out, right? So did I. I think a lot of people had to go. I mean, I certainly saw this on Reddit with a lot of people saying, what just happened? What's going on? And people saying, I feel like I've missed an episode. Lots of sort of confusion. But also just the actual exciting shootouts and stuff aren't very good.
Yeah, I saw you wrote about that today. I kind of agree, kind of don't. I don't know. I think there was a couple things that I liked and a couple things that I didn't. The Walking Dead has never been super great at shootouts. I remember back in I think season 3 or 4 where they're firing and it's clearly all the guns are just CGI firing and none of the guns have any recoil whatsoever. Yeah. So it's just people fake flinching. And this there was kind of scenes that were just kind of messy, where it's just poking out of cars and shooting back and forth, and they're just not terribly well filmed. I did the concept, at least, of the one battle where Aaron's team, I guess he was the leader of that team, had them boxed in, and then they just sat there for long enough for all the dead to rise up and kill the rest of the people. I thought that was actually kind of a cool strategy.
That was a cool strategy, but it was so flubbed in execution for a couple of reasons.
Yes,
partly, why were they suddenly losing at the end? They're all kind of retreating. It's as soon as they got their plan was working and the leader of the Saviors got killed and stuff, suddenly it was all the good guys were getting killed, and it was so confusing. What on earth is going on in that scene? I just don't understand. And I also don't understand what was Eric's character doing that he had to run across to the other side of the cars. What was that all about? I didn't understand.
He kept saying about something how there was no time or something, and he had to get something done quickly, but I don't know what. That was the one scene where I really didn't know what the goal was, and I think that they were trying to hold off these people in the front, and then Morgan's team, I think, was sneaking around in the back and
No, I think they're in different locations.
Were those two different locations?
Yeah.
Okay.
because they
Again, like
drove up
this.
to that location, and the other one had a fence all the way around it. So that one they were just going in on
So, yeah,
foot.
that was a satellite facility. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was different.
But but
Okay.
it's true that this facility where they're pinning them into the courtyard must not have had any back doors because they couldn't just go through the back and get out the other side for some reason. But I don't know what Eric was doing. I don't know why he had to go up there, but it was very obviously so that he could get shot. As soon as he did that, I was like, oh yeah, he's getting fucking shot. Like, obviously. I don't know. It just felt like this whole episode, and then people, are saying how great it was and it was so fun and everything. But I was too confused most of the time.
Yeah,
And like,
like the action was fine. It just there wasn't any context, or like really there wasn't a moment to breathe in really any of the scenes. And like I will say that at least The Walking Dead knows that like it usually has these kind of blockbuster premieres, and then they do nothing for like 4 episodes.
yeah,
And so I really think that they were doing everything they possibly could to get around that. It wasn't organized enough to make kind of a coherent episode. And I don't know. I like the Morgan stuff. I thought that was cool. How he's just kind of immortal, badass warrior dude now, like zombie John Wick. Yep,
Yep.
that was very obvious. And like
Yeah.
that was like a pretty well shot sequence
Yeah,
with him.
that was the only good action in this episode, except for the fight with Rick and the guy that turned out to be a dad.
Okay, so this was the other part that I found confusing. Like, what? A, where are they? Like, what
I
is
don't
that
know.
building? And B, like, it was supposed to be a weapons depot, but instead there's just like a couple saviors living there, and like one of them has an infant.
And what does
like random
Morales? Yeah, what does he
abandoned
mean when he's
building.
like, I called? Sorry, go ahead.
You're about to ask like, what did Morales mean when he said
What
I
was he
called the
saying?
saviors?
Yeah, who?
I,
What saviors?
I assume I wasn't as confused about that. I just assumed that he called in one of the other outposts, or got through to HQ, and then more.
But they're all trapped by the other people,
I
right?
assumed there was some group of saviors somewhere he could be calling. Like, I
So
don't know.
he can. I mean, what? And why is it such a big deal that Carol and Ezekiel track down that guy if the saviors all are being called on the radio by everybody, anyways?
Yeah, like
Like,
he had a radio the whole time, right? So he wasn't. They didn't really need to track him. I also don't really know where Carol and Ezekiel are going, but
I guess they're to attack another outpost. Thank God that tiger just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And
thank
done a
God
good
the
job.
tiger has read the script and knows who the good guys and the
Yeah,
bad guys are.
exactly. Yeah.
I also thought when Morgan was going through the hallway, just like instantly shooting people, I'm like, he could easily just kill one of his
Yeah,
own people if
that
he's
would have
like
been
not
kind of.
hesitating at all.
It would have been kind of great if he had just like wasted Tara and Jesus.
I thought he was going to come out at the end and just start like executing people.
That would have been pretty cool too. But
Well, there
it's
was the
not-
dude. There was the dude who killed his buddy from the
Uh-huh.
kingdom, who I thought he was going to kill. But so that was the other thing about this episode, where they're doing this whole like throughout the episode, they're doing this like weird new mercy debate. Whereas like we used to have this, where it was Morgan's philosophy versus Rick's philosophy, and now it's kind of Jesus versus everybody.
Yeah.
And like Taro's gonna kill this guy, and he seems innocent, and then he takes Jesus hostage, and he's super like evil, and then Jesus still just takes him prisoner anyway.
I know it's
and like
so
make sure.
silly.
And like I agree that there should be like some debate about this, but like actively debating it on the fly is weird. And like to see Jesus as like this paragon of law and order and peace and civility, like all of a sudden I don't really think that's like been his role to date. Like not really.
No, they cycle through different characters who take that role. No one
Right, but like
keeps it
why
for very
him all of a
long.
sudden? Like I don't get that. And like I get that this is a debate that needs to happen, and it's going to be probably a pretty major theme of the series, because there is something a little weird about Rick's group just like going pure assassination mission, just
Right,
like
right.
rampaging through these outposts and just executing everyone and doing like drive-by shootings of like outposts. And I get that it's war, but it does seem a little like it's not as bad as when they just stealth killed everyone at the outpost. That was probably
That was
the worst.
horrible.
But
at least there was tension in that scene.
yeah,
This is the big thing that I
was well filmed, at
really
least.
thought was like that scene was terrible, but it was very tense. And same with like when the wolves attacked Alexandria out of the blue, kind of. That was a very tense scene. There was a lot of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, holy shit, people are just getting killed. Like, but like this there was just nothing. There was no tension at all. Even when Morales shows up and the gun's pointed at Rick, it's like, okay, whatever, he'll be fine. It's Rick. Everyone's wearing so much
Should,
plot armor right now. Like,
should we talk about Morales? Like, just
yes, let's do that. I mean, who's Morales? What the fuck?
yeah, I wrote about this today. He's okay. So I would not expect 99% of people watching to know who he is, and like I wouldn't have
Yeah.
known who he was unless I had been kind of following this saga for a couple weeks, where the actor, I think his name's like Juan Gabriel Pareja, if I have that right. He's been posting on social media like Morales lives and like kind of Walking Dead esque photos of him, and people were joking that he was going to be the guy who comes back and shows up in like Fear the Walking Dead or something. As he's a Walking Dead character,
Right,
and then he
right.
actually shows up on the
I
show,
know.
and he was just straight up like telling us this whole time that he was coming back, and no one believed him. Because I thought he was like trying to fan cast himself like back onto the show, like after kind of becoming a meme in
It's
the
so
community.
weird.
And
It's
I don't have a problem with him coming back. I think that's actually kind of cool to like do this big loop around and bring back a really kind of random old character. But the way it was done, where it's like
Mhm.
we're supposed to be, oh, it's Morales, like no one remembers him. So if he just like showed up as a savior and then it was revealed in passing that like, oh yeah, it's that guy, but this kind of big moment where it's this reveal that it's Morales, it doesn't work if you don't know who the character is.
Your name's Morales from Atlanta. That one guy with the kids who left. You remember in like episode 6 and didn't go to the CDC with us? That's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had such a minor role. He was in 4 episodes. And my favorite is when he's like, "Hey, Rick," and Rick's like, it's at the top of my tongue.
Yeah.
What's your name again?
Sorry,
Oh,
man.
Morales. Yes.
You know what's and like so I was on Twitter, of course, and I looked up the hashtag for The Walking Dead to see what was trending and stuff, and the Walking Dead Twitter account posted their. Did you see what they posted their own little like meme GIF thing, like a holy shit with like Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec, like they're saying holy shit about
Are they
their
trying
own
to be
reveal.
funny? Is that
They're like trying to be like, wow, can you
if they're being
believe that?
ironic? Then I guess that's funny.
I don't think it was ironic. I think it was like trying to like be hyped with their fans. It was
Yeah.
it was just sad.
I don't know. Like I'm not like upset about it. It was just so random.
Yeah,
And I am kind of interested to see if he becomes like a legit character. But I mean, we literally have too many characters already. So introducing
I
more
know.
characters is like, oh god. Come on.
We have so many. It's ridiculous. On the other hand, like right before that, when Rick finds the baby, I thought that was probably the best moment in the episode because it was a good moment. Like
I knew it as soon as he went for the door
Yeah.
and the guy was like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
I was like, there's going to be a kid in there.
Yeah.
I don't know why there's
That
a
was
kid
cool.
in there. And then, well, before the Morales thing, I'm like, is Rick just going to leave that baby?
I know, right?
I assume he
He's
was like
like,
trying to
"Man."
clear the rest of the place first. But
Yeah, it was tough love.
So what I said in my Morales article is like, as goofy as all this is, I think it is kind of ultimately serving a point. Was between that scene and the baby scene, it's showing the saviors as kind of real people. Where
Yeah.
like if Morales can end up on Negan's team and he was part of Rick's group, like who's to say like Glenn or Carol or Daryl or even Rick couldn't have ended up, in that same situation if things had gone a different way.
Yeah,
So I
but
think that's
also
going to kind of play into the narrative of the full season of like, well, what do we do with the saviors? Like, are they all bad? Is it just Negan? Like, what do we do?
you
So-
have 2 other characters who have already kind of fulfilled that purpose. Eugene, who's gone over to the Saviors, and Dwight, who's come back. I understand, and that does make sense, but it feels like a little redundant. Like they're just kind of throwing another one of those things out there.
we've seen that from
Yeah,
our perspective, and like we've seen Negan's wives that are like oppressed and want to kill him and like are in a harem. And we've seen on kind of the general
Ungrateful.
population of the saviors, which are a lot of normal people live there. But I don't know if Rick and Rick's group have really seen that. Maybe Carl did when he was there, and Daryl a little bit. There's been a lot of prisoners at this point. But I
a
don't
lot
know.
of the Saviors are really bad though. Like that lady, the lady boss. Man, she was so mean to that guy. He was just trying to, I don't know, like clean a gun or something, and she's yelling at him. And she got her.
Deserves to die for that.
She got, yeah, I mean, she was like oh my God, they're turning into zombies. I'm just gonna sit here while one approaches me slowly, and oh, he's gonna bite me now. I'm just gonna sit here, and now I'm
Every
dead.
time a zombie turns like in the middle of combat, I keep thinking to Fear the Walking Dead and Troy, like timing them. I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
how long does it take to turn? I'm like, Troy's info would be very useful right about now.
yeah, he was onto something there.
Yeah.
Poor Troy. He died too soon.
I miss Troy. Troy's one of the best characters across either series, I think.
I agree. I think he was great. You know what's interesting is in the comments for these podcasts and on my various social media platforms, I get yelled at so much about liking Fear the Walking Dead
But
by
why?
Walking
If you're
Dead
such a if you're like a
fanboys.
Walking Dead fan who's like mad that we don't like The Walking Dead, like
I
wouldn't you
don't
want the
know.
other show to be good?
I don't get it.
Like
It's
I
so
don't
weird.
know.
It's like they're
Doesn't
like
make sense to me.
you're just a hipster who likes crappy shows like Fear the Walking Dead instead of shows that everybody loves like The Walking Dead. Oh
It
yeah,
tells me they're
like the
not watching
ratings
it
are.
because like I don't really know how you could be watching
Yeah.
both shows and like think that one wasn't better than the other at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand if you like prefer the characters in The Walking Dead. Sure, I understand, but like, it is really having problems, and it's very obvious that a lot of people actually feel this way, and it's not just I mean, your article on the ratings for the premiere, the headline was that it was 33% down from last year, but I think you buried the lead, which is that it was the lowest premiere since season two.
It's I'm mixed on how much I think ratings are a signifier of like the show being bad because the drops are pretty significant. Like it is, I think it's the lowest in season three, but then again, there's a lot feeding into that where if you look at across TV, all ratings have been dropping the last few years like pretty significantly. Like I've seen shows lose like 50% in
Yeah,
like the last 2 years, and even at 10 million viewers, that is 5 times as big as AMC's next biggest show, which is Fear the Walking Dead,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is 2 million, and like Better Call Saul gets like 1.5 million. So it, I don't know, like it's not great certainly, but outside of very rare exceptions like Game of Thrones, like you're not really going to see a show enter season 8 and be putting up kind of peak numbers. Like I was impressed that The Walking Dead was peaking, as late as like season 6 or whatever it was. Um, so yeah, I get that some people are fleeing, and I personally know a lot of people who just stopped watching after the season
Hmm.
7 premiere. It was just they were just like, nope, I'm out. It's too much, and so that was kind of an interesting point of reference. But I don't know. It's not great news, but I don't think it's The Walking Dead is not doomed. It's never going to be doomed
It's
unless
it's
it's
not doomed, but I really think that the way it's headed is going to turn off a lot of people. I mean, I know that I've personally probably been more critical of this show than most fans have, but as it continues this direction, I really feel like people are kind of laughing at it and shaking their head more and more. I mean, people who are like, I really liked it through season 7, you see them saying now like, I don't get why we had those face close-ups. Like, what's that all about? Like I don't understand why they're not telling us what's going on. Like it's like they're purposely trying to keep like the plot away from it. And it's it is just a very strange direction for this show to take.
yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that we're not getting like the whole episode devoted to Tara. Though, hey, we might
Not
get one
yet.
for Morales next week.
Honestly, I would be totally down for a random 2-hour Morales episode.
It's
That'd be
actually a
hilarious.
3 hour
Yeah.
like super epic
I heard we're
Morales
gonna get a
episode.
Negan flashback. I don't know if that's true or
Oh
not,
Jesus.
but like we had the governor
Yeah.
episodes. Like we might get a Negan one, which honestly I wouldn't even mind if it's like the past where he's acting more normal. I would be like kind of down with that. But
He's like this really
at
nice
some point they're
guy.
gonna have to make Negan more sympathetic. Like they're just going to.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know
well.
how or when they're gonna do that, but at some point they may. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, on the brighter on the brighter side of things, we have Stranger Things too,
Yes. I keep
which
forgetting that it's called. They're just calling it like Stranger Things 2, not
yeah,
Stranger
like
Things
a
season 2.
movie.
Like it's like an 8-hour movie or
Yeah,
something. That's kind of cool. I like that.
yeah, I like it. I still call it season 2 in
I
my
do too,
posts
but
because it's
that's what most
weird
people are
and
searching for.
yeah. But so we both wrapped that up over the weekend. I was trying to spread it out as much as humanly possible, but that was extremely difficult because it was so damn good. I mean,
Yeah,
just
I
the
did 3 days. I think 2 or 3 days.
yeah, yeah. Started well, actually, I guess I did 3 days because I didn't watch any Friday. I watched a couple screeners on Thursday, and then because I got screeners like the day before,
Yeah.
which
Useful.
was like totally useful. But yeah, then yeah, watched the rest over Saturday and Sunday. Oh my god, you liked it better than
I did, and
the
like,
first
I don't
season.
get me wrong, I like the first one, but it just seemed. I guess at the time it was so much 80s overload. I'm like, this is literally ET. Like, we're just watching ET with
Scary
kind of
ET.
better, new updated production values and like, some tweaks here and there. But it seemed to me one of those things where like, what's the difference between an homage and a ripoff? And it was like really close to that line, to the point where it bothered me a little bit. But that said, it was kind of saved by the direction was really good. The performances, particularly of the child actors, were really good. So I still ultimately liked it. But season two for me is it kind of turned and became its own thing. And like, yeah, there's still references to a lot of 80s stuff, but it really worked kind of as Stranger Things, not like, oh, here's this, goofy homage show to all these like 80s classics. Like, it's Stranger Things itself is like really good
Hmm.
just as a core property, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I think that I am maybe more forgiving of the homage versus ripoff thing with season one, just because I thought it did everything so well. And I feel like it had its own, at least its own like spirit, and it's the characters were so good. I mean, the characters are so good in this show. I mean, pretty much every single character. I did like this season because it wasn't quite so black and white, but with like villains. Like Papa in the first one is so wicked, but the Doctor in the second season is actually a really nice guy, and
Yeah, you kept waiting
you,
for him
you
to
know,
turn, and you're just like, oh no,
yeah,
he's
but
actually
he's
okay.
yeah, and they blow the lid off everything with that really hilarious investigator. God, he was great.
Yeah,
Can't think of his name, but that whole scene where he basically convinces Jonathan and what's her face to
Nancy.
Nancy. I was gonna say Natalie, but I think that's an actress. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was I just love that. The thing about this show and this season was it's so funny and so horrifying all at the same time.
Yeah, it's just every scene is a pretty good mix between all of that, and there were very few sequences where I'm just like what the hell is going on? And like, I guess really the only one is the controversial seventh episode.
I don't know why that's controversial.
It's, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it, and I think it
I thought it was
served
just
a
fine.
good purpose, but it really felt to me like a backdoor pilot for a spin-off, which, even if that isn't happening, it definitely felt like that's what they were going for, which kind of weirded me out, because it was all those characters were just so disconnected from the rest of the season, and like, I don't
Yeah.
really know what, like, I don't think that was necessary for Eleven's development. It felt like they needed something for her to do and like a quest for her to have, so she went off. It's like, we know that she gets more powerful when she's angry. Like, that's that's not
Hmm.
news, and she didn't really need to go there to learn that. I don't know. Fundamentally, I think it would be cool if there was a plot line where they're tracking down the other nine kids that were experimented on or whatever, like X-Men style. Like, that's cool. Like, if they want to do a season about that, it's just that it was like so kind of out there and disconnected from everything else that it was a little weird. But I mean, ultimately, it still worked. But I get why
Yeah,
people may not like it.
I think it may be setting up some stuff for next season, and I think it was a tease episode in a way because it did that thing where you see at the end of episode 6 the demodogs climbing out of the pit, and then it cuts to Elle's storyline, and you have to wait until the end of that to see her like realize what's going on. So I think it serves like that dramatic tension a little bit. But yeah, I guess I could see that. I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed it, but I can see how some people might not. I don't think I didn't enjoy any part of it. I just really loved the whole thing. So I think the thing I disliked the most, and just because it's horrible to watch, is poor Will, and then of course poor Bob.
I knew Bob was a goner. I'm like, if
Oh,
anyone's a goner this
definitely.
season, it's gonna be Bob.
Oh,
Bob. But
definitely.
that was really well done, I thought. And Sean Astin was just great in that role.
Yeah.
um,
Well, it's lovely. I loved the pirate treasure comment. That was hilarious.
yeah. But and you know what else I liked? I mentioned this in my article, where I really like that they didn't kind of give in to fan pressure about Barb, where I
Yeah.
was really worried that we were gonna like see like Demogorgon Barb or something,
Oh my god.
or Barb was
Is
gonna
that what fans
somehow
wanted?
what what
Is that
dude,
what fans
I
wanted?
mean, well, after Stranger Things 1, Barb became like this kind of big cult figure and like a meme, and like people really just loved that character, and I mean, a lot of people did. And so
Right.
I was worried that they were gonna pull like a Boba Fett and just make her
Oh my
like a
god.
huge central piece of season 2, even though she was clearly not meant to come back or survive season 1. And they didn't. They did like the storyline about getting justice for her, but they never actually brought her back. And I think there was probably a temptation to do that, and I'm glad they kind of
Hmm.
resisted that.
Yeah, fans are dumb. They always want like things that don't make sense just so that they can like get that little rush. I don't know, like all the shippers that want people like it's just silly, it's silly. I'm glad. I think that Barb was great, had a great role in this, as in like her death really mattered, and it caused the Nancy and Jonathan to go do something kind of brave and amazing, and they took down some of the bad guys, and that was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that she stayed dead because, in a lot of the shows we watch, people don't stay dead. Whether it's Game of Thrones or The Flash or Arrow, like this tendency to bring people back from the dead it's very tempting, I feel like, for a lot of these studios.
Well, this show doesn't even kill off that many people. So if you like
No,
one
thank
person
God.
die a season, you might as well leave them dead. Well, I guess didn't we were supposed to think that Papa was dead, but he's not dead, I guess.
Well, it was off camera,
I
so it
don't
was
remember. I
like,
don't even remember what happened to him in season 1, honestly. But
yeah, I think it was off camera, so you just were supposed to like think he died.
okay,
So I'm not really surprised if somebody dies off camera. I
in
often
any
just
show, it
assume
doesn't
they're
count.
not. Yeah, that's why everyone was so confused in Game of Thrones when Stannis was killed, because it's like, well, they didn't show it, so
Yeah, and
he
they're
could
like,
still
"Oh, we
be
were
alive.
exercising restraint or something." I'm like, "No, it's Game of
No,
Thrones. You have to show it,
right?
especially
What
in Game of Thrones."
restraint? He just burned his daughter at the stake. You don't need to. You think that showing that was exercising restraint, but okay, whatever.
Yeah.
People are stupid. See what I mean? What are you gonna do? Um, yeah, well, I can't recommend Stranger Things too highly enough. I just think
Yeah, it's also great because
it's just
you can do it in like 2 or 3 days, and it is
yeah,
weird because this will probably be the last time we talk about it. It's like
yeah.
four
I know.
days of coverage just because this is how Netflix shows work. Like at
Yeah, it's
least with
almost a
like Netflix
shame.
Marvel shows, there's like 4 or 5 of them a year, so we can keep talking about kind of the universe or whatever. But this is like it's 8 episodes a year, and then we're done for another 51 weeks,
Yeah,
which is fine. But it is a little weird.
it is. It is. The that makes me think of John Bernthal and his upcoming Netflix show, The Punisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have that if Shane was still alive in The Walking Dead. So
Yep.
the key is to get killed off in The Walking Dead and go on and do bigger and better things.
Yep.
Although, not always. I
Yeah,
mean,
sometimes.
well,
What's her face? Andrea is in The Americans now.
yeah, I just can't handle her in
Um,
anything.
who else? I don't know.
As soon as she was in The Americans, I was like, oh
Lori was
God,
in
the
that
show just got
comedy
worse.
show. She's been in a couple things. I don't really
Yeah,
like her as much.
Glenn is Keith in Voltron.
Wait, what?
Glenn
Yeah.
is Keith in Voltron on Netflix.
Oh, the animated show. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a great show.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He still needs like a really big like lead role in something though.
I agree. He was so great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep saying this like every week. The show was better with Glenn in it, and sometimes you can't just kill off characters because there's no one to fill in the void that they leave when they're gone. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I still think
it's
that was a mistake. I still think Daryl should have died and Glenn should have lived, even though people would have
oh,
like
but
lost their minds. But
with Daryl, we still get one grunt an episode. He does something I'm running, and then he walks off
he looked
with
at
his
some
crossbow.
handcuffs this time. That was
Yeah,
pretty much what he
and
did.
and then Rick was like, "Let's split up," and Daryl was like, "That's a good idea," and off they went.
If I were
Like
writing this
that's not a
show,
good
I would end
idea.
up creating some sort of like elaborate, long flung plot line that like turns Rick and Daryl on each other, and like Daryl
Oh, see
becomes
that?
like the
Yeah.
next big bad or something. I think that would be awesome, but that will
That
never
would be
happen.
super cool. Actual tension between characters in the show would be great. Like not like stupid bullshit tension like we get, but like a real conflict. That would be awesome.
But the problem is like I don't even know how that would happen because Daryl's not really like something would have to happen like Carol would have to die and it's Rick's fault or something, and then Daryl
That's good. I like it so far.
I don't know. I think there's something there, but I really don't think that's ever going to happen. So
No, probably not. But it is a great idea, and I back it up. I just think they need to create some new kind of tension. This is not working. This whole all-out war, these multiple civilizations, this whole thing is just not working at all. And
this is why I'm worried. It's because this is just how the show is now. Like it's just these colonies essentially, and like there's new bad guys and whatever, but it is just these colonies going forward, which is slightly concerning.
Yeah.
And did you notice there was Pollyanna McIntosh was credited in last episode, who's Jadis, and like I didn't see her at all. Like she was in the opening credits, but I don't know. I thought that was weird. Like because usually if you don't show up at all in an episode, you don't get to be in the credits. But
I wonder if there was a scene cut or something like that, and they
maybe
just kept her in there.
After credit scene, like they've done a couple times.
You know what else they're doing this season? They're leaving a lot of characters out so they don't have to pay the actors. Like all the characters who don't get to come and fight in this all-out war, like Michonne and Maggie, like and Carl. Like I guarantee you, like it's gonna be another season where we don't get to have those characters very much because they're gonna be on the sidelines.
I don't know if it's like purposefully being done so I don't have to pay them, but I just think the cast has gotten too big where. I mean, there was already too many characters in this episode. It was hard to keep track of them all. Like, I couldn't even fathom if they injected, 4 or 5 more characters into it. But I definitely agree. They're getting like kind of weird with it. Like, there was an interview where they said that Heath is going to come back. Like, Heath isn't dead, but he's not going to be in all of season 8. It's like, what?
Yeah, I saw an article about that. The headline was "Fan favorite may return. We just don't know when." And it's like, fan favorite. Fucking Heath. No one cares about Heath.
That might be a reference to comic fan favorite, where he's a much bigger character in the comics. But they've kind of. I just thought they just weren't going to introduce him, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it," and then he'll show up for a couple weeks and then disappear forever.
And then we'll have that fake out on the bridge with like female Heath. God, it's still one of the worst moments.
I forgot about that.
It was so bad. It's like, hey, there's a bunch of zombies that are covered in dust, and then this one zombie with a blue shirt and dreads. It looks just like
a woman, incidentally.
It's a woman and just happens to look just like Heath. What's the, what a coincidence. Yeah. I had to ban someone on Twitter today, block someone, not ban, but block, who in their bio had "fuck Eric Kane" in it. And they had like a Rick Grimes avatar. They were like, "The Walking Dead is the best. Fuck Eric Kane. Fuck all these hipsters." I was like, wow, that's creepy.
Yeah, I found myself arguing with like 12 different people that all have like some variation of Rick Grimes avatars and names.
Yeah. Or like occasionally like it's Simon or Carol or, some other, but mostly Rick Grimes. I saw on the subreddit, somebody had gotten a Rick Grimes face tattooed onto some body part. I'm like, you're really gonna get the face of Andrew Lincoln tattooed onto your body? You're gonna regret that.
I suppose
someday.
I've seen stranger media tattoos, but
I just don't get it. Like, yeah, I don't know. Well, those are the 2 shows for the week. I'm also watching Outlander right now. Do you ever watch that show?
No, I read the first book like way back when, but I haven't watched the show.
I feel like I should read the book. I don't know. This hasn't been a very good season, which is disappointing. But oh well. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week. Take care.
See ya.